Hey folks, so I'd like us to look at some sample theses that students have written in response to the same question that you're being asked about national parks and whether or not access to national parks should be limited due to overcrowding. So what I have here are 5 different thesis statements from different students. And I have the Word document up on Blackboard, and what I'd like you to do is spend some time reading all 5 thesis statements and doing some sort of ranking, meaning think about which ones are sort of high or sophisticated and strong, and which ones are low, right? And maybe need some work. Okay, so please do that first, and then we can talk through it here. Okay, so I'd like us to look at this first thesis. Though a complex issue, ultimately, if these parks are going to remain wilderness safe havens, then modest limitations need to be put into place sooner rather than later. So this is a mid to high thesis statement, right? They have this rationale here if these parks are going to remain wilderness safe havens. And that lets us know sort of why they're taking the position that they're taking on this issue, right? Well, if they're going to remain wilderness safe havens, then we need some modest limitations. Also notice that they take a clear stand on the issue, then modest limitations need to be put in place, right? And here they're trying to preview a counter argument. They're trying to say, though a complex issue, this is a part that I think could be specified a little bit more. How is it a complex issue? But overall, this is a pretty solid thesis statement. Notice that it's debatable. Notice it's in a clear third-person objective point of view where parks are in the subject position, right? And they're not just saying, well, I think. Okay, let's look at our second one. If parks are going to preserve their wilderness and wildlife, then they need have maximum occupancy regulations for the number of people allowed into each park, as well as the number of people allowed into specific areas. Okay, so this one's a mid to low thesis statement. Notice they say if parks are going to preserve their wilderness and wildlife. This is pretty strong, this first line. Notice that it sets up their rationale or their justification, right, for their position. They're saying this is why, because we need to preserve these things. With that said, in these last 3 lines, notice that it's a bit clunky. They're missing some words, and then we get some repetition. Number of people allowed, and then number of people allowed. So this is a type of thesis statement that sort of is what I call meandering, meaning it sort of isn't concise and to the point. So the position is there, however, the language and the way that they're expressing their thesis is still developing. Okay, let's look at our last 3. Placing modest limitations on the number of people admitted to national parks benefits the environment and the visitors. Okay. This is a pretty sophisticated thesis statement. It's concise, it's to the point, and yet it's doing a lot. So notice they take a clear position that modest limitations should be placed on the number of people admitted to national parks. So they set up their purpose and topic. And then they're very clear because it benefits the environment and visitors. And this is nice because they could talk about a lot of different environmental benefits. And they could talk about also how it could be beneficial to visitors. So I like these sort of what I call umbrella terms, like, okay, it's benefit to the environment because environment could mean so many different things. They might have a paragraph on how it could benefit the wilderness. They could have a paragraph on how it benefits air quality, etc., etc. Okay, let's look at our last 2. More limitations to public parkland should be avoided even though overcrowding is an issue. This one again is low moderate. So they do take a clear stand. More limitations to public parks should be avoided. They have this counterpoint, though overcrowding is an issue, but we don't get much of their justification. We don't get much of their reasoning for this. They just say, more limitations to public parks should be avoided. It's like, why? Right? Okay, and then this last one, limiting the number of people admitted into national parks is a smart decision in that such limitations protect the safety of visitors while also protecting the park's wilderness and wildlife, even though such limitations may cause some people. Right, notice that I'm already out of breath, and there's a lot of repetition, right? And then the student doesn't have much sentence level control. Notice they have a period here and then no capitalization, right? And so for this one, the sentence level control issues are quite disruptive and distracting to their overall position. And so for this student, they would need to think about making their position more concise. They're saying such limitations protect the safety of visitors while protecting the park's wilderness and wildlife. I think that could go somewhere, but they would have to sort of cut the fluff, so to speak. Okay, so I hope that this helps you as you begin working on your own thesis statement. Remember, a thesis statement is just an expression of your overall position, right? It's going to express your topic, sort of the purpose of your paper, and probably hint at your reasoning. Okay, good luck as you begin work on that.